Good morning. This is week 6, and my name is Ying Mei, and we are going to discuss relevant information for the week 6. Before we go through the new information, let's have a look. Is anything still need to be clarified for week 5 major information, and at the same time waiting for the others to join in? All right, let's have it go, have it try. Similar like last week, we're just using choose or false for each of the following statements. If any questions have some concern, we can give brief explanations as well. So first one, we all agree it is choose, yes, because it's seasonal indicated category, so definitely it is choose. Yes, we all agree. How about the second? The spring warms features with vigorous fever and fast transmission. Thank you. Spring warms does not have noticeable V-level condition, and as a kind of spring is outwards, upwards energies flowing and with enhanced anti-pathogenic factor for the human beings. So any kind incubated pathogens will be rushes outside and also directly features as a kind of chi level disorder. So vigorous fever is quite a common presentation for spring worms. Due to the incubated pathogens is much more strong in their transmission ability, so they have very fast transmission from one level to another, especially very easy go to nutritive level and affect bodies in essence. Now, number 3, both of the incubated heat and vigorous anti-pathogenic factor Qi in the spring result in more serious clinical manifestations for the spring worms. This actually helped us explain why the number 2 and number 1 is correct. And this is give more detailed answers. Why spring worms and features with Qi level excessive heat without the noticeable V level disorder. So that's basic answers for that. Okay, any more concern about the first slides here? So first 3 questions all right with everybody? We're okay? Yeah, all right, thank you. Let's have a look second slide. There's no difference in treatment for heat affecting the pericardium pattern, no matter it's wing worms or spring worms in one being. One answered false. Anybody else? Some answered choose. So what we are going to be treating for the clients, are we treating based on the category of the one being, or we are treating based on the pattern of differential diagnosis in TCM? What we're based on? Based on pattern, thank you. It's very important. We're never treating illness based on Western diagnosis or category of the one being. We treat the conditions based on pattern of differential diagnosis. So this pattern is a heat affect the pericardium pattern. So treatment will be exactly the same, no matter what kind of conventional disease, no matter which category of one being in TCM. Is anybody else still have a doubt or have a questions? Okay, if no more question, this is, yes, Olivia.
So I have a bit of doubt, but the treatment's different, isn't it, Ying Mei? Because in the first stage, you have to, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. You do diaphoretic if it's wind warmth.
Yeah.
But if it's in spring warmth, you've got to clear the phlegm from the pericardium. So you treat it a bit differently. That's how I understood the question.
Yeah, you're talking about different category. They initially have different pattern, yes. But if we are going to have same pattern presented in front of you, does the treatment the same?
I guess so. Yep. Okay. I just looked at it differently. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's good, can help us, everybody, to understanding this well. So we have been from first year to try and emphasize TCM is a pattern differential, is a syndrome differential diagnosis. all the treatment based on the pattern, based on differential diagnosis. So pattern means TCM diagnosis. So if diagnosis is same, treatment will be exactly the same, no matter what season and what the pathogens, and from TCM point of view. Thank you. So now number 5, 针叶承气汤 is modified of 针叶汤 and 承气汤. Oh, this is missing N here, so there's a wrong spelling. So there's a tang, T-A-N-G here. I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, 针叶 means is adopt compositions from 针叶汤. 承气 here is basically from the 承气汤. Did not mention specifically from 承气汤 family. Its answer is correct. But for this formula, only have 大黄 and 芒硝 with additional 生地黄, 玄参, and 麦门冬. And also mentioned previously, you have to know this formula, their composition, the pattern from inside out and outside in. So this is the second time I mentioned this formula. It's very simple, very valuable formula, very easy to memorize, and very easy to understand it as well. Now number 6. 炙甘草 and 生地黄 are the two very important compositions in the formula called 炙甘草汤 family. So group of formula. Is that right? So these two ingredients are very important compositions in the 炙甘草汤 family. So 炙甘草 definitely, otherwise they are not going to call the 炙甘草汤 family. Yes, so definitely have a 炙甘草. But within the original 炙甘草汤 family, in the formula study, in the Classics 1 study, we know the most heavy weighted of ingredients in the formula is 生地黄. That's why in some reference books, this formula located in yin tonified sections. So this overall answer is correct. 炙甘草 plays like a natural steroid, very important, help to restore the regularity of the pulse. 生地黄, naturopathy used as a kind of adrenal stimulants, so very good for TCM tonified gene essence. For naturopathy used for adrenal stimulants is similar, like tonified kidney, based on TCM understanding. So these two specific herbal pair are very important to consolidate gene and the qi of the heart, as well as supporting for the kidney as well, with large dosage of 生地黄. Now, next slide, question number 7. The spring worms has more severe yin deficiency than windworms in the Wenbing. Thank you. Which is due to more vigorous heat or fever related with spring worms. So the answer is correct. That's why all the fermented food is much more warmer than the same ingredients before the fermentations, which is similar thing. Incubated pathogens is much more heat exuberanted regarding to clinical feature of fever than the non-incubated pathogens in Wenbing. Now, number 8, the spring worms only happens when incubated internal pathogens has been triggered by external wind heat attack in the spring. So these are the major issues, make everything's become false. If they say it's possible, so that'll be correct, because they are the only, so which is wrong. And we all know the pathogens can also comes out without any kind of trigger by pathogens. Incubated heat can comes out of the bodies just by the season changes. Atmosphere changes can trigger these kind of incubated pathogens comes out to the surface. So this is incorrect. Thank you. Incubated heat is unresolved winter pathogens. So this is an answer for the one of discussions about where does this original pathogen come from. Now, number 9. The spring worms can happen in the spring without external wind heat attack. Thank you. So this basically, if you answer incorrect for the number 8 and number 9, definitely should be correct. So in some way, they mirror to each other. Thank you. Is that okay for these slides? Okay, next one. Number 10. Thank you. The incubated heat pathogens can cause more damage than newly attacked of external wind heat in Wenbing. Choose, because this has much more vigorous heat and then a non-incubated wind heat externally in Wenbing. That's correct. Much more easier to causing nutritive yin disorder or body injuries. Number 11, the common external pathogen in winter is cold in nature. So this is correct. So here did not say absolute. Here says common, isn't it? If it's absolute, it will be incorrect because we're living in man-made environment. We can turn on the heater. Now, question 12. Unresolved external cold pathogen can turn into heat when entering into Shaoyang or Yangming division. So this is a partial review for the Classics 1 and partial to learn if you have not done Classic 1. This is correct. Any kind of unresolved external cold pathogens, once they entered into the Shaoyang or Yangming, or before they enter whatever, they through the transition procedures, they all turn some level of heat. So this is correct. Same like the you can imagine outside the temperature is always cooler than indoor temperature at the moment for the most of the household, no matter you have a heater or not. Once you're staying outside, you feel so cold, and when you comes into the inside, you feel less cooler. So this is obvious reason from external to internal. Now, number 13, if unresolved external wind cold pathogen entered into 3 yin divisions, which is due to internal yang qi deficiency. So this is a common sense or revision for Classics 1. Is it right or wrong? Because the normal transitions is from 太阳, 少阳, 阳明, 太阴, 少阴, 厥阴. Ideally, theoretically, yes, from outside goes inside. But once they internally so empty, so weak in the yang qi, they can detour straight away, affect internally without those any kind external conditions. So this is correct. If any kind external wind cold pathogens, if they cannot be resolved in Taiyang level, instead went to the 3 yin division straight away, and that means you do not have internal sufficient yang qi. That's why some people, they get in the common cold and in the classes, and they pass on this kind of same pathogen to the others in the cold weather. If the others does not have a strong yang qi there, instead have common cold, up respiratory conditions, they're suffering diarrhea straight away or nausea, vomiting due to cold attacked Taiyin spleen. So same virus, same pathogen can result in different and clinical manifestations. Yes, thank you, Rui Zhang. If they triggered from externally, yeah. But when you mention these kind of 3 yin deficiency cold syndromes can come from internal yang qi deficiency without external attack. But you're talking about unresolved external wind cold pathogens. If they went to the 3 yin division straight away, which is due to internal yang qi deficiency. So both internal deficiency and with external attack simultaneously. Thank you. Now, number 14. Unresolved internal cold pathogens can continue consuming the yang qi of the body. So that means if the cold stayed inside, okay, good. We all agree that's correct. So number 15, the internal cold pathogens can only turn into heat when antipathogenic qi is adequate. So number 14 and 15 are similar things and just talking about different angles. This is correct. If you do not have a strong antipathogenic qi, or if spring is not coming, the trapped cold from the winter will stay as a kind of cold in the 3 yin division, causing further yang qi deficiency. But when spring's coming and antipathogenic qi also getting stronger, growing stronger, they are able to fighting back to trapped unresolved cold and which you collected from the winter, and then turn into the heat and push it through, and they become pathogens. And not all the illness are bad things, clinical symptoms, especially fever. Fever usually in some level indicated how strong your immune system. When people tell you, oh, I have not had fever for 20 years, but they look so dainty, so fatigued, so exhausted, you know it's not because they are so healthy, it's because they have poor antipathogenic qi. For people who have a stronger pathogenic qi, once they get a very severe attack for pathogens, they're going to have very high temperatures. So battle is indicated, both enemies and the compositions, and very, very strong, they're able to fight with each other. So this is correct. Number 16, the unresolved internal heat pathogen mainly stays in the Shaoyang gallbladder, Yangming large intestine, and Jueying liver division. Requires a little bit of thinking, isn't it? So something related with basic pathology we learned, internal med, as well as Classics 1. So if we have not learned Classics 1, don't feel frustrated. You can think it using common sense. Unresolved internal heat pathogens. You can think about how many organs do we have, how many divisions do we have. We do have Taiying divisions, but Taiying involve the lung and the spleen. Does spleen have a heat? Lung have a heat disorder related conditions? If they do, that means this statement is not correct because they're only limited to Shaoyang, Yangming, and Jueying division. So overall, this is not correct. You could have damp flame heat in the lung. You also could have damp heat and congestion in the stomach. He did not mention the Yangming large intestine, does not mention the stomachs. And you could all the other heat involved in other organs based on different conditions we're suffering. So theoretically, this is impossible. And same for clinically, it's not viable to put this statement. Now, number 17. But from a Sang Hanlun point of view, if you try to insist Sang Hanlun point of view, looks like most of unresolved internal heat related to Shaoyang gallbladder, Yangming large intestine, and Jueying liver divisions. But in some chapters, if you have chance reading all the original, not original, but the most of the like original statement, there are something else is involved for the internal heat as well. Now, number 17, the spring worms has higher chance presenting with in-injury symptoms, as well as heat in the nutritive level patterns. Thank you. So we had mentioned it many times by explaining previous statement. Thank you. And because incubated heat is very, very, very aggressive and can cause extreme heat in the qi level. That's why result in deficiency. Combined with fast progressions, they're very easy transmitted to the nutritive level, become nutritive level patterns. Now, number 18, Chen Qi Tang family has been well developed or expanded in Wenbing practice. Yes, so Chen Qi Tang first we learned from the formula. You learn some of that from internal med. You learn reviewed again from Classics 1. In the Wenbing discussion and last few weeks, you already see that list of the lots of Chen Qi Tang formula within the Chen Qi Tang family. So huge number of formula can help and dealing with yang mingfu obstructions in the colon. Now, number 19, the bloodletting can be a very practical method to win over time for saving life during the high fever suffering in Wenbing. For general term, this is correct. So we need to be careful. There's some another questions below here. Number 20, spooning and cupping treatment could be useful to clearing heat, which is benefit to the patient suffering high fever with serious maculas all over the body in Wenbing. This is definitely correct. But if we go to the court, some people will argue, because you already mentioned in a general term, bloodletting is very good at treating high temperature related with Wenbing to save the time, to save the time, to save life. And this is also belongs to Wenbing with high temperature. Why this one cannot use in bloodletting? Because they already have what? They already have bleeding conditions with heat in the blood resulting in these skin rashes. Very severe maculas. You can have big patches of bleeding, not outside the skin, inside. And if you doing spooning cupping can cause a more severe internal bleeding in the tissues. So this is very, very serious. Unless you can let blood comes out of the body. Bloodletting still can be used to practice in these cases, but never ever doing this kind of. This is still called a kind of bloodletting therapy, spooning cupping, but this blood does not going outside. The blood is still within the bordering of the skins. So this is internal bleeding, should not be practiced for the blood heat patterns in Wenbing. So this is bleeding and let the blood comes out of the body. So this can be practiced. So they still belongs to bloodletting therapy, but the blood you cannot see the physically comes out of the body. So this should not be practiced, not very safe for Wenbing. So this is correct for the number 19. Number 20 is incorrect. So do remember, spooning cupping is also called a kind of bleeding therapy. This is artificial bleeding through the physical pressure. Now 21st, and the yin level heat presents in spring warms, store a regular pulses is essential for the patient. Yin is a part of the blood, is that right? Yin plus what equals blood? Yin is what equals blood? Yin is a qi form, so plus the body fluid equals forming the blood. Once the heat in the yin level, are they going to affect the bloodstream and pulsations and normal pulses? And because also can cause the yin deficiency, so very easy resulting irregular pulses or weakened and gentler pulses. So maintain good regular pulse is very essential to manage the temperatures to restore proper yin. So this is very important because spring warms is very, very fast transmitted Wenbing, can causing very severe deteriorations, and can leading to possible unnecessary death. So maintain good pulsations is very important when the heat goes to nutritive level during the suffering of wind warms. Any questions? Yes, Charlie. Yes, Livia. Okay, who want to be first one? Livia.
Okay, thanks, Yingmei. So, Yingmei, I just understood the question a little bit differently, and I'm just trying to explain to you. It says it is essential to restore the pulse. Essential means that wouldn't be your main treatment. The treatment would be to eliminate the heat, and then the pulse would naturally then fall into place. But your main essential thing is not really to address the pulse. So it's just a play on words, I know, but it depends on how you interpret the question.
That's very good question in a way. How do we restore the pose? What formula we use in TCM? We learned from the formula long times ago. Also, we mentioned this formula in the previous slides. What formula we use to restore the pose?
I'm not too good on pulse on that, so I don't
either
know.
生脉散 or 炙甘草汤. So in the panel, you can see either 生脉散 or 炙甘草汤. They are focusing on what? Focus on yin regeneration and heat clearing. So which is match exactly treatment principle for Wenbing, especially for spring worms.
Okay, that's a really good question and a really good answer, because that helps me understand my formulas, which I can't do better. So thank you. That was great.
Thank you very much, Olivia. And we mentioned in the 炙甘草汤, the heaviest or largest dose of the ingredient in the 炙甘草汤 is 生地黄. 生地黄 is typical ingredients can cool the blood, clear toxic heat, and manage heat in the nutritive level for people suffering Wenbing. 炙甘草 is also used in large dosage, can help like natural steroid to restore the pulses. It's a very good one. And 生脉散, do not use it in a very urgent situation as a kind of supporting the ingredients. 人参麦冬炙甘草 also can help consolidate qi and yin apart, restore the pulse as an assistant. But the 炙甘草汤 family will be very essential to use, restore the pulse, and to clear the heat in the nutritive levels in Wenbing.
Yep, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a very good question, actually. It's a very good one. They help us understand the formula, understand what means the spring worms compared with the wind worms, what's the clinical features regarding to the exuberant heat, why they can affect nutritive level, because they're so hot, they're very fast transmissions.
So, Yingmei,
Yes,
with
Charlie.
with number 20, my understanding, you're saying when there's a serious illness, we can still doing the needling, bloodletting,
You can do
right?
bloodletting, yes, from the fingers, yes, to control the temperatures,
okay.
yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, just remind all of us, bloodletting, doing the bloodletting on the fingers, you only get 1 drop or 2 drop. Not like people doing the bloodlettings in behind the knee, getting 1 liters or half liters. So that's a completely different concept. Some people doing bloodletting and getting blood 1 cup, 2 cup, which is a bit too much. When I mentioned about bloodlettings from the fingers, only 1 or 2 drops, that's it. Okay, don't do the 1 cup or 2 cup, that's crazy. I'm not keen to that kind of practice. We don't have much blood in general if we're not strong enough. So that is not the way I recommend for practice. Yes, Charlie.
Can we do the bloodletting on the ear instead?
Ear, yes. You can
Yep.
do that on ear apex. Yes, ear apex very easy to get the blood. It's also very good.
Because the other day I feel some heat again, so I palpate my ear. But instead of the ear apex, I saw I feel there's a lump on the my ear at the edge in the middle part. So I did the bloodletting, and there's a full drop of blood coming out. So could we do other location where we feel the lumps?
Ear apex is the most common one to use for bloodletting to release the toxic heat. If you want to do the bloodletting any other part of the ear, it's your own choice. It's all fine. But it's very easy to cause infections for the ear in general, and it's better to maintain good hygiene practice and do not do ear bloodletting on the ear when they're very close to the cartilage. Number 22, the heat is usually easier to treat than to restore the damaged yin or body fluid in Wenbing. It's similar like the war is very easy to stop, but post-war restorations is very, very hard. Same for the bodies. Recovering, it takes a long time. Managed symptoms looks relatively short period of time. Complete recovering and restore the previous balanced state takes a long time. 23. If the patient does not have a balanced middle gel, internal dampness is a common pathogen coexist with heat during wound suffering. Thank you. This is common sense. We all should be able to know now. 24. Internal dampness, retention, and yin injury could be common presentations post-wound treatment. Okay. Because yin injury is quite a common presentations and after have a heat attack, we understand it. But why they could have a damp? Because most of the herbs to treating the heat is what? It's cold. So if you do not have a strong spleen, or when you're using the heat treatment for over a period of time, very easy affect the spleen's chi. Yes, and that's why damp could be part of the tongue coating or presented when heat has been very well managed. So answers for number 24 is correct. And most of people after one course of antibiotics or after one course of herbal treatment for any kind of heat patterns conditions, the tongue coating will all turn to white. Or if they already have a thin tongue coating, they can become more thicker, which is common. So don't feel shocked. Don't feel something what's happening there. It's a kind of the natural reactions of the body based on the nature of the herb we used. And the dampness is a result of chi weakness from cold herbs use. Yin injuries due to heat pathogens injury. And all could be chi has been injured from cold herbs, not able to generate sufficient yin. So as a kind, depends which one comes first. There can be one or another possible causes. Thank you. If you already have existing yin deficiency as a precursor, and you are much more prone to have more severe yin deficiency. If you have weakened qi as kind of precursor, it's much more dampness dominated and post-wound treatment. And maybe both damp, pathogen, and yin deficiency comes simultaneously. Okay, any more questions for these slides? Both pathogen and the body fluid come from same source. No matter which pathogens getting worse and body fluid generation become weakening, these kind of sources will be affected. So this basically, okay, what's the concern, Nikki? Oh, no, you said no question, sorry. Thank you. I'm just slow reactions now. Number 25. Bitter and cold CM herbs mimics natural antibiotics, which is safe for treating wound by themselves. Cold is a common nature's herb treating wound, but if they combine with bitter, then it's very, very dehydrated, dry. So if you're treating wound by only using bitter cooling herbs, very easy resulting possible body dehydrations. So this is false. We have to combine with sweet, aromatic, so aromatic vent, the heat to surface level, and sweet to help protect general yin, even sour herbs accordingly. Now, number 26. Purgative and diuretic herbs can eliminate the heat through both bowel movement and urination, which can be safely applied to treating wound in any stage or in every stage. Thank you. So for the spring worms, we cannot apply diuretic herbs in early stage due to exuberant heat, which can result in further dehydration. For purgative herbs, only used for wound when they have excessive heat in the yang fu organs. So this say any stage, these are major things, make the whole statement improper. If they could be used, so that'd be possible. Now, number 27. Is that too fast or it's okay? Okay, no, it's okay, thank you. Now, number 27. Tao Ren Chen Qi Tang is a modified of Tao He Chen Qi Tang. Which one come from Classics 1, 伤寒? They all have compositions come from 承气汤 family, yes? Taoren and Taohe indicate something differently. So they are not related at all. They come from different form. So here just remind us there are two different formula. One is from Shanghai-Lun, the other is from the Wenbing. So Taoren Chenqi Tao, first one come from Classics 1 or Shanghai-Lun, and they have a Guizhi inside. And Taohe Chenqi Tao is come from Wenbing. They come from different sources, not relevant, okay? So not modified from one another. But you can say they're all modified 承气汤, that'd be correct. Thank you, Reed. Now, not last one, number 11, 28. The heat pathogen in the qi and yin levels simultaneously are not very common in spring worms. So this one tricked us. They are very common due to heat. It moves so fast. So both qi and yin level attacked by the pathogen heat in spring worm is kind of common patterns presented in spring worms condition in Wenbing. Number 29. The winged worms easily presents papulous, while the spring worms easily present maculous. So here we need understanding which one's more severe and what level of the heat involved. So these ones from what level? Okay, go back to question 8. Yes, question 8.
Yes, email. I have a question about 28 because this is that qi and yin is very common in spring worms.
Yes.
Yeah, because what about the yin and blood level? Is it yin blood level?
Blood level is further down to the yin level. So there's a qi yin, wei qi yin xue. So qi and yin is very common pattern, have a heat attack simultaneously. You could have possibly blood, but qi and yin is more common than the qi, yin, and the blood.
Right.
Because they can affect the yin level, like we mentioned many times previously. Spring worms, very easy to damage yin and attack nutritive level. Sometimes when they attack nutritive level, the heat in the qi level has not been completely resolved. So in that sense, that means they deal with both qi and yin level. Typical formula is qing yin tang.
Yeah, but qing yin tang, a can of, I think a can of because of blood level as well.
Yeah, qing yin tang can use for qi, yin, and blood level heat pattern. And if they're more focusing on yin and blood, is a bit different. Yes, but in generally, bleeding is not very common pattern for spring worms. Right. Regarding the excessive heat, because when heat goes to the blood level, they don't have much high temperatures involved. But once heat in both the qi and nutritive level, temperature is still very exuberant, very, very hot. So which is matched fitting into the spring worms. The most typical clinical manifestation of spring worms is so hot, temperature so high, and goes very quickly. Thank you. Now, for question 29, maculous is a bleeding, yes? Internal bleeding, noticeable internal bleeding underneath the skin, yes? Big patches of the dark red blood, but papular is a kind of surface. You can feel something prickle on your skin. So this heat in where? In Wei or Qi level, yeah? But this is heat in nutritive level. So is that correct now? If we can understanding these different skin rashes, does this correct? Populus is heat trapped in the skin, in the surface, in the V level. Yeah, so that means this is correct. So winged worms is much more easy, have a heat trapped in V and the chi level, and spring worms have more heat trapped in nutritive level, so which is correct due to more severe heat, incubated heat related with spring worms. And winged worms is newly attacked from external weather related, either winter or spring. Thank you. Now number 30. Due to exuberant heat in the spring worms, in the later stage of illness, the kidney gene and the liver blood are usually depleted. Okay, now just here. Yin or liver blood? What's the difference between blood and yin? If it's a blood deficiency, you feel more warm or more cold. Most are women, yes, after have a heavy bleeding during the menstruation, feel cold. If the yin deficiency, you feel hot or cold. If you're hot, so here is incorrect. Now, due to this wording here, should be kidney yin and liver yin instead of liver blood. So that means in the clinic, when we try to interpret liver yin and liver blood, for the diagnosis, be careful because the construction, the formula, construction of points may be exact same for acupuncture, but for the herbs will be different. If the liver yin deficiency, more deficiency heat. If liver blood deficiency have both and coldness and qi and body fluid deficiency simultaneously. So this is a basic concept, and we need to consolidate from the basic differential diagnosis concept. It is a bit tricky, sorry. Now I have to make something false here, otherwise everything's true. There's no point for us to do exercise here. Now number 31, in one being, heat passage from qi level can enter to blood level without affecting the yin. So here is from qi level, go to blood level straight away without affecting yin. It is possible. Did not say only, this is possible. This says can. If everything says can, it means possible. So that is correct statement. Does it make sense? And people could have exuberant, excuse me. People could have exuberant heat straight away without show any kind of crimson tongue body, and then result bleeding and simultaneous. And that's a typical heat from qi level, go to blood level without go to nutritive yin. Once you go to nutritive yin, you have to have a tongue coating peeling and become geographic tongue coating. Some people, they don't have tongue coating missing at all, still have sufficient tongue coating with very, very bright red tongue and bleeding. So this is typical from heat, excessive heat, from qi level go to blood. It's a possible happening. It can, but not absolute. That's why here using can. Yes, it is correct. And this is not, it has abnormal transmissions to pericardium. This is different. Yeah, pericardium not related with bleeding, it's related with consciousness change. Now, 32. If there are fever, yellowish tongue coat, red tongue body, and bleeding, which indicate the heat passage in the qi and the nutritive yin level in one being. So these 31, 32 are related. Be careful about the term. Because here what? Still have very, very nice covered tongue coat. So this is a typical signs, tells you what? Qi heat, yes? Qi level heat. But this one tells you what level heat? Is it yin or blood? bleeding heat in the what? In the blood. So this is not in the yin level. So this is wrong. So overall, it is incorrect. Thank you very much. Now 33. If there are fever, maculus, crimson tongue body. So what means maculus? Skin rashes. Is what? Is that bleeding or not? Bleeding, good. There's a bleeding, there's a fever, and also crimson tongue body with geographic tongue coating, and also still have yellow coating, which indicated heat in the nutritive yin and blood level. Is that correct or not? You still have this. Is that only 2 levels or more than 2 levels? Once you still have tongue coating, yes, they still have a qi. Remember, tongue coating indicated the qi of the stomachs, and also color of tongue coating change. If it's changed to yellow, means still have a heat in the qi level. So here is wrong. So this involved tongue diagnosis, another revision. So here's 3 of the qi, nutritive, and the blood, they're all involved. So just added additional qi in front of yin. Yes, Charlie?
I just want to clear the concept with bleeding. So, so we're talking about bleeding. It's like vomiting blood, blood from the nose.
Yeah, that is noticeable bleeding, yes.
So it is not about like the peculate, the bleeding on the qi level. We're not talking about that, right?
Once doesn't matter bleed, does not matter which kind of bleeding. Once the bleeding comes out with very high temperatures in Wenbing, they always present some typical signs of heat in the blood level. But this bleeding is what? Underneath the skin, maculus, big patches of bruises. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Due to heat causes pressure changes in the capillary, and all the capillary bursted or permeability change, the red blood cells comes to the tissues and causes a big chunk of bleeding internally, but it's noticeable underneath the skin. Now, any more questions for these slides? So we just need to make sure we can reading all the information, the big chunk of information, or lots of paragraph and different, research article. And we also need to understand something subtle, a little things, and to consolidate the concept for the Wenbing as well. And number 34, dry and black tongue coat indicates exuberant internal heat in Wenbing. Yes, okay, we know that, good. How about wet, greasy, thick gray or black tongue coating? They represent serious damp heat pathogen internally or not? Wet, greasy, thick. How many of you had experience collecting mushroom? A lot of damp, we know that is a damp. Is damp heat or damp cold? Or combination of everything? If they present a human being, it's a damp cold, it's not damp heat. So because damp dominated will make you feel cold. Unless heat dominated, like this one, heat dominated, that's why a lot of dry black tongue coating. But this one is damp dominated. They have a little bit of warmth, that's why mushroom can grow. So this is more in TCM represent a damp cold. So there's a very serious yang deficiency internally. There's heat from congesting heat, and that's why growing a lot of mushrooms in your gut and present on the tongue shows like very, very gray, black, greasy, and wet, thick coat. And black is fermentations, too long. And the damp has been causing congestions, a lot of fungi involved. That's how colors comes through. We know fungi requires a damp environment and a little bit of warmth, but not too hot. Too hot, the fungi will be died down. That it cannot collect mushroom. So when the damp is dominated, overall it's too cold there in the environment dominant. So it's damp cold internally with congesting heat. So overall, It's a damp cold dominated. If it's dry, black, it is scorching heat. But if it's very damp, greasy, thick, it's something differently. Now, number 36. Darkened wizard teeth is a typical feature of kidney qi injury in Wenbing. So what it should be? Kidney yin or kidney jing? So we know it's not qi, it's jing or yin. Thank you. So this is incorrect due to the qi here. For the severe heat, after severe heat suffering in Wenbing, a lot of them, their teeth become more darker than their original color. And this is typical, and kidney yin or the substance of the bodies has been injured, especially in body fluid involved. So here's kidney yin or kidney jing involved. Now, is that too much for everybody? If it's too much, we can skip this one. Number 37. Yes, moisture and good color and of the teeth indicated the kidney jing. One is very, very dark color. The lack of very nice shininess is going to have very, very bad injury in the jing. Now, number 37, the Classic 1 subject has introduced more new formulae than the Classics 2 subject. Therefore, Classics 2 is easier to learn. That's why we get frustrated, because most of Classic 1 formula we already learned from formula, advanced formula. So that's why very easy for Classics 1, unless you introduce some new concept, understanding the 6 division or qi dynamics. Otherwise, Classics 1 is very simple. But Classics 1, Classics 2 makes so frustrated. Too many new formula. Concept is not complicated. Too many new formula. How we are going to memorize it? That's why there's a question. How many we should know? Don't worry. Life is very easy for us living in Australia. 38. Now, sorry, there's a question. Are you saying we are in for treating when we got to Classics? What's that mean? Yeah, it is a treat. It's a treat. It is a treat for Classics 1. We learn formula, advanced formula. Most of the formula already learned. So this third time to learn in the Classics 1. That's it. Now, number 38. The good way to learn new formula is try to mechanically repetitions of the information. This is a very bad way to learn. This is a very, very bad way to learn. If we are only 3 years old, 5 years old, do so for fun. Different sounds, different names for sound. For most of us are adult, don't do that way. It's too hard, very, very hard. Number 9, I find that online in YouTube. Learning is acquisition and development of memories and behaviors, including skills, knowledge, understanding, value, and wisdom. So it must be correct. Otherwise, they should not be presenting YouTube. Yes, that's a definition of learning. So which means you are not just using memories itself. You also need to utilize what? Your previous experience, your basic understanding for the life, for the simple concept, and the belief, your value, and culture, especially using your wisdoms. So utilize all of our capacities into the learning, make it more fun and more interesting. I believe everybody is much more intelligent in this way than I do. Now, number 40, there's no best way in learning. That is not my saying. It's some famous person, I quoted from famous person. And also he believes, but if we can utilize experience or dissect complex knowledge into simple segments, then learning can be much more easier. That is, usually I encourage everybody else to shading the knowledge, shading the complicated formula into the smaller segment. We learn the material medica, yes, and then goes with individual herbs, group into herbal pair, into herbal groups, and then put in different category based on overall natures overall synergies over actions, and then you can find, oh my God, this new formula is not that complicated. Only a name, but we are not assessing how many names of formula you can know. We're only trying to make sure we understanding this slides by reading it. That's it, to reflect the previous knowledge. So that can make life much more easier in learning. Now, number 41. Habitual or routine reflections to information can benefit learning in new formulae. So this is a very important part, which is basically supplemented the previous 40 to make sure we utilize all this kind of previous information or experience we had and keep reflecting, and much more easier can help us learning. But if you say, okay, I only do that one, trying to get good result, good grades, and passing the exam, that'll be like me. When I graduate from uni, I forgot everything. I returned everything to my lecture, very proud. I can't remember anything, I'm very proud. And now I feel so pity, so silly, and so embarrassed because I did not learn that properly, which is very, very sad. Now, 42. 银桥散、桑菊饮、白虎汤、针叶汤、调味承气汤、栀子池汤 are commonly used formula in spring worms. Checking the formula name first. Have we done all this formula before? 银桥散, yes, in the formula. 桑菊饮, yes, in the formula. 白虎汤, yes, in the formula. 针叶汤, yes, in the formula. 调味承气汤, yes, in the formula. 栀子池汤, not yet, but only 2 ingredients, 山栀子 and 豆豉, simple. They are very, very commonly used formula in the Wen-Bing treatment. Now, which 2 formula are very commonly used for the heat in the V level? First 2, yes, good, we all know that one, wonderful. And which 2 is very commonly used for heat in the Qi level? 银桥散 and the 白虎汤. Now, which one can help dealing with the heat in the nutritive level? 银桥散, 针叶汤 and 白虎汤 together. When combined together, they can deal with it in the nutritive level. Which one can help deal with the heat in the blood level? 针叶汤, but it's not strong enough. So you can see from this simple formula, even for the 栀子池汤, also can deal with the heat in the Qi level as a special supporting. From this kind of simple jigsaw puzzle, you can make a big castle to fulfill all this kind of application in the common Wen-Bing conditions. So don't feel panic, don't get a panic. Life is very easy in Australia. Any more questions here? Sorry, fellow, what the question for the question 1 and 3? Okay, you can check with others, thank you, sorry. Okay, all right. Just before we go ahead for today's new concept, I want to share to you one of the typical tongue. Any of you had a chance to see this tongue? Any of you had a chance to see this kind of tongue before? How do you describe it? Using your language, describe. It looks like 2 tongues on top of one another. Yes, like I'm making special cake. Why? What's happening? This is not cake. This is a typical tongue. Yes, massive dent on the side. Massive dent on the side. This is what locations or organs involved here. Is the liver. This tongue shows severe liver yin and blood damage or injury. Very, very severe one. The whole tongue like a balloon cannot fulfill the forming their shape. So depleted, collapsed. Whole tongue tissues has been collapsed due to insufficient blood can fill these kind of tongue tissues there. You can see the edge of the tongue has been completely collapsed in. There's a very severe blood insufficiency after some serious illness. This could also happening for people and post Wen-Bing suffering as well. So here I just remind you or just share with you there's a specific tongue. We may have a chance to see that in the clinic as well. These are very important signs indicated liver yin and liver blood deficiency. Now, based on the color of the tongue, which one is most appropriate one, or more common one? Is a liver yin deficiency or liver blood deficiency? Based on the color of the tongue, you can see from the computer. And based on different color here, from this computer I'm using, looks like more yin deficiency. But when I put in different computer, the color different, getting much more paler. So I'm not giving you correct which one's correct answer, but when the dent shows on this one, it could relate with either yin or blood deficient in liver. If the tongue looks more paler, more blood deficiency. If the tongue looks more red, it's more liver yin deficiency associated. Okay, rest of tongue coding we'll discuss later. I have not sent this to you yet. You're going to receive it soon. Any more questions for the revision questions for week 5 revisions so far? Are they okay? And still have a thin tongue coating. Yes, they still have some very thin, slightly yellow tongue coating, and with a lot of thin multiple cracks as well. Yes, a lot of dots. It was okay, thank you. Okay, let's have a look today's concept. So today we need to discuss or introduce the number 3rd category of Wenbing. So after discuss windworms, spring worms, let's have a look at the summer worms. From these slides, you can see, and summer worms only happened in the summer season. So very seasonally related. If it's spring, we don't need to worry about summer heat. If it's autumn, if it's winter, we never ever talking about summer heat, whatever pathogens or the categories here. And this kind of summer heat attack when the zhen qi is relatively deficient or from overconsumption of drinking cold liquid, this kind of summer heat very easy to be affected. Or people's looking for coldness and either stay in the shade for too long and does not allow body have perspiration, release the trapped summer heat inside, and you can have summer heat attack. I tell you a very, very interesting story I experienced myself. The first year, second year, the first year when I just arrived to Australia, I only stayed in Melbourne. I went to the clinical observation in Professor Wang in city, in the Chinatown. At that moment, he still have a clinic in the city, in the Chinatown. And in order to save money, I did not take in public transport. I walked from Brunswick to the city, so it take a few hours, about 2 hours for me. I can't remember exactly, but it takes quite a while walking. Most of the road does not have sufficient shade to cover, so it was very, very hot. And when I reached to that park, exhibition park, I drank some water from the tap. When I arrived to the Prof. Wang's clinic, my whole face looks pale. I feel sick. I want to throw it out and had very, very cold sweating comes out. Professor Wang smiled on me. He says, "Oh, naughty girl, you have been attacked by summer heat." So that's the first time I experienced spooning. So his assistant did some spooning on my elbows around the lung 5, around the lung 10, and a lot of bruises, fresh red bruises comes out, very, very hot comes out within my body. That's the first time I experienced summer heat attack cause of the heat stroke. That's a typical example, tells you if you're drinking cold drinks, if you stay in the shade, but you already have some heat attack during the surface, that means heat cannot comes out after cold trap this heat inside. You're very easy suffering some heat attack. Yes, Prof. Wang is very handsome, very practical. He does not have much of theory, but he's very practical, old-fashioned apprenticeship styles, yes. I feel much, much better. At the same time, he asked me to have sucking one of the dried ginger, so ganjiang, without chewing it, just suck it. And I feel much, much better. And So no more nausea, heat has been released through spooning. That's first time experience spooning, because we never taught spooning in China in the university. That's usually practiced by people in the countryside as a patient. So you believe you're a university student. Oh, you're training academic. You don't do that, you know. A lower class people doing. You believe you're beyond everybody else's. It's a nonsense. You're not practical. You're not down to earth anymore. You become what? You're only living in a book. So that's the first time experience spooning, and great beneficial, and also experience the horrible heat could happen in Melbourne weather in summer. And next one is talking about summer heat is a pathogens. It's a basic pathogens can trigger the summer heat worms. And Melbourne summer can have very hot and dry heat, causing serious burning and very nasty heat, because we have the UV rays so strong. We have a hole. We don't have sufficient clouds, heavy clouds to filter the UV light. Now, summer heat combines with a damp. Summer heat easy combined with a damp, resulting summer damp heat attack. If the summer heat without a damp, especially when you have very strong stomach chi, spleen is not weak, usually it can affect by summer heat. But if you have exist weak spleen chi, you can affect by summer damp heat, result summer damp heat worms. Charlie had experience with the summer heat, a few short breathing patients and fatigue, so very dehydrated. When you have sunbathing on the sun in summer, could be very dangerous. A lot of old people can cause very severe summer heat stroke, resulting in stroke and heart attack as well. Thanks for sharing, Charlie. And because these are kind of exuberant heat, and we know the spring is Qi is trying to rising, not reach to the maximum levels. And when this comes heat, the yang Qi in the atmosphere reach to maximum level. So that is very hot, very easy, causing Qi and fluid damage. And that's why we respond as a sweating. So sweating is a fluid of the heart, is a blood fluid of the heart. Excessive profuse sweating, very easy leakage Qi and body. At the same time, in later stage, with this kind of summer heat attack, with Qi and injury, you can affect it liver, kidney, spleen organs, and depends different level of the pathogens, either summer heat, summer damp heat. At the same time, result serious yin and yang collapse or damage. So you can see more severe possible and end of stages conditions compared with previous two categories regarding to yang damage, regarding organ associated injuries here. So main diagnosis point, season have to be summer. So summer worms have to happen in summer season. They should not happen in spring, not happen in autumn, not happening in winter. And at the early stage, and summer heat could have heat in the Qi level if it's early summer heat worms. But the cool in the V level is a summer damp heat worms. So it depends. If there was a damp, they could, because damp is more yin, more sluggish, and slow the transmission of pathogens, they can have some V level conditions. So they feel a bit chill, a bit fever, nausea. But if it's summer heat only, they can go to Qi level straight away. I'm going to discuss, elaborate later. I can elaborate now. So what's the difference between damp and the damp heat? The wrong spelling. Summer have two different pathogens. One is summer heat. One is summer heat. One is summer damp heat. Okay, I'm just moving it around. So two pathogens can causing the summer worms, yes? So what's the difference between these two? Summer heat is purely heat or combination of everything? Summer heat is purely heat. So heat, because the maximum heat, that's why they can go to qi level straight away as a kind of pattern for summer heat worms. So this one have no trouble to understanding. Yes? Yes, okay. But once there's summer damp heat, are they going to weakening the heat sense compared with summer heat itself? Because of damp is yin or yang? Damp is yin. So if it's attacked by summer damp heat, you are easier feel chills, like I felt after have summer heat stroke. I feel cold and chill and nausea, vomiting. So cold, not just trapped through drinking, trapped in the intestine, into the digestions, also cold trapped from walking in that exhibition park, the shade, trapped the pore of the skin. If you're walking, sitting in a very shaded environment for too long, also drinking cold in summer, if you do not have a strong antipathogenic qi, you don't have strong healthy spleen qi, you can trap not in the tai yin spleen digestions, you also can trap your wei qi in the surface. That's why the summer damp heat attack could result possible wei level and qi level simultaneously summer worms. But for the summer heat, it's a maximum heat and very fast transmissions, and they can go to qi level straight away. Does it help understanding regarding the difference between summer damp heat and summer heat cause of summer worms in regard to clinical manifestations? And let's have a look at the formulas involved. That's why the Xiang Ru Yin. Xiang Ru Yin is quite commonly used for dealing with summer damp heat. Put it here. Xiang Ru Yin's typical formula deal with early stage summer worms. They still have wei levels disorders. So that means in this slide something's missing. Then from the drinking, they can go affect the spleen. But if there's a damp is involved in the shade environment, they can trap in surface to stop you sweating, because summer season, all your yang qi comes to the surface of bodies. You learn the classics 1 in the Tai Yang divisions. Where does the yang qi located? In the surface, in the lung system, in surface. So Tai Yang division, all the yang qi in the surface. Yes. So during the summer, all the yang qi locating surface all come to surface. So internally, usually, if you're not strong enough, you don't have enough protections from the yang qis there. By drinking too much of cold drink, eating too much of salad from refrigerator straight away, you are very easy have a dampness affect the spleen, so which is correct. But if you also stay in a shady environment, instead of yang qi were circulated, locating surface of Tai Yang divisions in the summer, because the damp is a cold in nature, or trapped, or collapsed, or affect the yang qi circulating surface, and closed all your pore of your skin, and let your basically surface wei yang has been trapped in surface, resulting superficial wei level disorder. And that's why in the summer, when you have any kind of summer wind cold travel in surface or wei level condition, Xiang Ru Yin is very commonly used. A very gentle aromatic one, enhanced perspiration without the damaged body fluid and the qi. It is very easy getting confused as well. And also in these slides, they miss this very important information here. Now, here is a very good summary about the season-related conditions, summer heat, and etiologies, pathologies, and early stage of syndromes. So summer heat is a commonly related cause of summer heat worms. So that's why during the attack of the summer, during the summer by summer heat, if the zhen qi is not strong enough, you never had a summer heat worm suffering if you have very strong zhen qi. So you get very good perspiration by and look after by summer heat pathogens there. You don't have very sick. You're only sick when you don't have a strong antipathogenic qi. And then summer heat alone can attack stomachs, result in summer heat attack, If you have existing weak spleen, like I mentioned previously, you can have summer damp heat warmth suffering. So you're going to have nausea, vomiting together with high temperatures. But if it's only affect the stomach, sorry, if it's only have summer heat involved, quite common, you're going to have chi level heat. But if you have existing weak spleen during the summer heat attack, you're very easy to have possible damp heat attack pattern comes out clinically. For chi level heat, you can have like big four conditions, 白虎汤 syndromes, or 白虎汤 plus 人参, as a kind of chi deficiency involved, so big sweating, profuse big fever, profuse sweating, big thirst, and pounding strong pulses. That's 白虎汤 syndrome. If the pulse getting weakening, feel a bit fatigued, you can add in 人参, so 白虎汤 plus 人参. But if you have weak spleen as a kind of precursor, and besides of the heat happens affect you in the summer, damp heat as a kind of result can affect you simultaneously. So instead, you could have what? Some wee level conditions, aversion to cold and headaches because the wee yang trapped in surface due to damp, due to cold. And you're not able to sweating due to cold trapped in the surface, pore of the skin has been closed. And then internal dampness also resulting in general heaviness and stiffness of muscles. Epigastric abdominal distension, indigestion, irritability, and greasy, cold, and red tongue is additional other general terms about internal dampness or damp heat involved. But here is typical wee level conditions happen in summer. Does that answer your question? Answer the previous questions, answer something missed from previous slides. So it's good to help understand each other. Because it only happened in summer, here we give us some example of possible conditions, Western conditions could happen in summer. So sunstroke, like I personally experienced many, many years ago. Heat stroke is sunstroke, same thing, happened in summer. And epidemic encephalitis is a very serious one, usually ended up in the emergency hospital or can end up in the heaven. So it depends how lucky we are. And this slide tells you what kind of pathogenesis or progressions we can understanding from the summer heat warmth in general. So if the serious chi and body fluid and injuries through summer heat warmth suffering, you're very easy to have blood pressure dropped, like Charlie mentioned, palpitation, shortened breathing to start with, and then collapse on the street. So that's very severe. Second is, and same is more severe one, if the heat affected the heart, because the heart is a fire element. Summer is also related to the fire element. So heart is very easy to be affected by summer heat pathogens. So if the heat has been too much exuberant to the heart, causing serious injury of the heart yin, damage of heart qi, you may result in loss of consciousness. And this can happen and as a further collapse of self-consciousness from the collapse as well. If this kind of, because the heart is the fire element, summer heat is fire element, heart governs the blood circulation. When there's too much of heat in the summer, you could also have some bleeding involved. So there could be correlated heart organ and could straight away go to the blood circulations causing leakage and causing permeability changes, either internal bleeding or outside bleeding. But bleeding is also could be natural protection result, because through the bleeding, your heat is going to be released or increased. When your bleeding comes, proper way, like nose bleeding, is very good when release the heat, natural form. And it's good self-protection. So you have bleeding and reduced pressure as well. It's a good one. But if more internal bleeding, could be very serious. And as a kind of serious heat, the damage yin, damage qi, with more serious injury, liver, kidney yin could have very bad consumptions. You can result in internal wind, either as kind of spasm, convulsion, or lack of nourishment, and cause of numbness as well. If they affect the pericardiums or heart by summer heat pathogens there, causing very bad internal stirring, either wind, and even dementias can trigger it from summer heat stroke, and tremors, commotions happen for the bodies of muscles as well. So there's a common sense we know from the pathology in general. So there's all possibility, but not necessary. For me, I did not have a collapse, did not have unconsciousness, did not have a bleeding, did not have numbness, spasm, did not have dementia and tremor. For me, only have nausea, vomiting, and a chill. And after the summer heat stroke, these are talking more severe problems for summer heat warmth suffering. Any questions? So far we are okay. Now next, talking about the basic treatment principle for the summer heat warmth. So because the heat is so severe, we have to control this kind of heat. Yes, have to stop it. And if the surface, we disperse. If it's got a chi level, we're clearing the summer heat. And if at the same time, so we have to supply the fluid and supply the chi. So we have to do this simultaneously. Both heat clearing and fluid supply, chi consolidation should treat it simultaneously. If they have a dampness involved, we have to what? To transform the damp or separate difference between the separate damp with the heat. It's not easy to separate. Basically, we need aromatic herbs to transform the damp at the same time, and cooling cold herbs, sweet herbs to clear the heat, and some chi regulating herbs to help and to separate, mingle the damp and the heat. Treating quickly when the heat go to chi level. So when the heat reaches the chi level, you have to stop it. If you do not stop it, heat in chi level, they go to nutritive level, blood level very, very quick, or can go to the heart, result in unconsciousness and cause a very bad internal wind if they consume very, very bad fluid. So very important to apply bloodletting for the ear apex and fingertips. If there's no bleeding at the moment, you can do spoon cupping, and if you know body's conditions there. But for very, very old people, if the blood vessel is so rigid, very easy have spontaneous bleeding, do not do bloodletting, do not do spooning as a kind of bloodletting therapy, it can cause some serious chi collapse. If some heat invades to the pericardiums, we can easily have unconsciousness. If they're involved in the liver, very easy have convulsions. So inner wind comes through. So clear the summer heat to manage this unconscious suffering, to slow down convulsions, to manage the tremors is very, very essential. At the same time, you may need to call the ambulance if it's necessary. Promote urination, clear the summer heat is very essential if there's a damp involved. Do you remember when we're talking about spring warmth treatment, in the early stage, we cannot using any herbs diuretic in the early stage because very easy what? Injury the yin. But for the summer heat warmth, especially if they have damp involved, diuretic therapy is very important to help to eliminate the damp through the urinations. So you can see this difference. At the same time, we know they have to look up the yin and the qi. So that's why this has been emphasized many times, again and again, again. From the beginning, look after body fluid, to the end, consolidate qi and the blood. So repeat it twice. So it tells you how important it is during the summer heat warmth suffering. We need to look after yin and the qi from beginning until the end of the stage of suffering. Okay, we are going to have